Are you going to keep hiding behind silence and rage? Or are you ready to know how to speak your truth without losing yourself in the process? Let me ask you something. How many times have you stayed silent, not because you didn't have something to say, but because you were afraid of how it would come out? Afraid you'd lose your cool, afraid that you'd push her away, afraid you'd say the wrong thing and then regret it later. So instead, you swallowed your truth. And in that moment, you lost yourself. Hey man, I'm Kyle. I'm a certified master NLP practitioner and a certified master success coach for men who are tired of biting their tongues, hiding their truth, and feeling like no one really sees them. And just for you watching this, I have put free resources in the description below for you to get for yourself and to start making the change, as well as the opportunity to work with me. And when would now be a good time to do that? Leave a comment also, and let's get a conversation started, a real conversation. Today, I want to talk about something that every man struggles with, but very few will ever admit, and that is how to speak your truth without losing control. This is probably one of the easiest changes that you can make, but it doesn't come easy. This type of behavior has to be practiced over and over again, just like anything in life. If you want to be good at something, do it a few times. If you want to be great at something, do it every day. And once you do this, you will see your relationships just really shift. You'll see them change. They'll evolve. They really have no choice but to evolve. And here's the crazy part. Once you start speaking up and speaking from your truth, from your grounded masculine energy, people actually want to get closer and lean in when you speak. Your words carry more weight because the ones listening know that your words have meaning and that you're being clear and honest with them. And this does something else too. It makes you feel so present and in the moment that you can relax and just breathe. So, I'm going to give you four ways that you can start making this monumental change in your life. And if you're already doing this, fantastic. Watch it anyways, though, because you can never hear this information enough. So, let's get into it. The two extremes, okay? So, let's be honest. Most men live in one of these two extremes. On one side there's the bottler. This is the disappearing man, right? This man avoids conflict at all costs. He shuts down. He says, I'm fine when he's really not, and he just buries everything under silence. He thinks he's keeping the peace, but really he's just building a wall between himself and everyone who cares about him. His woman, feels like she's in bed with a stranger. His kids grow up not really knowing him. He becomes invisible at work and in life because no one ever really sees where he stands. And inside, he's carrying a private war that no one knows about. The bottler's survival strategy is avoidance, and avoidance will kill you slowly. And on the other side is the performer, also known as the overcompensator. This man doesn't go quiet. He goes into overdrive. He doesn't sit in his truth. He tries to prove it. He's the guy who raises his voice, talks over people, or constantly explains himself so he won't be misunderstood. But here's the problem. The louder he gets, the less he's heard. Now, isn't that ironic? His woman doesn't feel his strength. She feels his insecurity. His team at work sees him as reactive, not steady. He mistakes volume and effort for leadership, but everyone can feel where it's coming from. And that's fear. And deep down, he's exhausted because performance takes energy that truth never requires. The performer's survival strategy is overcompensation. But overcompensation is exhausting and it erodes respect. So one hides, to survive, the other performs to survive. Neither one is rooted in truth. So why men, stay silent? So Why do you stay silent? I know why. And if you're being honest, you do too. You stay silent because you're scared. Scared of conflict, scared of being rejected, scared that if you really showed her how you feel, she'd think you were weak. Or maybe you tried speaking up once before and it, got twisted and used against you. So you told yourself, never again. But here's the problem, brother. Every time you don't speak your truth, you abandon yourself. And every time you abandon yourself, you weaken your own frame. That's why your woman doesn't trust you. That's why people don't take you seriously. Not because you don't have something to say, but because you don't say it. And then over time, you grow resentful because no one is listening to you. Well, of course they're not listening to you. You haven't spoken up. You can't you can't get upset with someone who doesn't know what you actually want. Expectations that you set on other people that go unmet, it's not their problem, it's yours. They more than likely don't even know what you expect from them because you've never told them. How are they at fault for that? So why exploding doesn't work either. Let's flip it, right? Because maybe you don't go quiet, maybe you get loud. You snap, you yell, you let anger speak for you. But here's the hard truth with that. When you explode, it's not power, it's not leadership. It's proof that you don't know how to regulate yourself. It's proof that you don't know how to communicate. And the moment you lose control, you lose trust and influence, right? Your woman doesn't feel safer, she feels more guarded, she feels danger. Your kids don't feel respect, they feel fear. Your team doesn't feel led, they feel managed by your emotions. You can't lead anyone if you can't hold your own fire without getting burned by it. You can't lead anyone if you can't even lead yourself. And you know that you can't argue with this. Now, you can disagree with me if you like, but you know that I'm right, don't you? And it's completely okay to feel that. It means something inside of you is trying to come to the surface and be seen and heard. And what's coming up is the truth that you have inside you that you know you can't keep living this way. That's what's going on. You want to disagree with me and you know you can't. And brother, I see you. I hear you and I feel you. I know how hard it is to hear this and I promise you that if you give yourself a fighting chance and just try something different, your life and relationships will change. So what speaking your truth actually looks like? So what does speaking your truth without losing control look like? First, let me tell you what it's not. It's not about rehearsing the perfect speech like you're remembering lines for a play. It's not about, winning arguments like some kind of courtroom battle. There's no gold medal or trophy at the end. And it's definitely not about dominating the other person just so you can feel like, like you won. That's performance. That's not truth. And here's what it's about. Ownership before blame, right? Real men doesn't hide behind excuses. He owns his lane before he points out what the other person is doing. That might sound like, I can see where I shut down in that conversation. That's on me, and I don't want to keep doing that. Do you see the power in that? You disarm the conflict before it even starts because you led with ownership, and ownership creates respect and trust. Speaking your truth is about honesty without collapse. Now, this one matters. Most men either explode with their feelings or they bury them so deep that no one can reach them. Neither one works, though, right? Real honesty is saying, I'm under pressure right now and I could use your support. But notice what you didn't do. You didn't hand her your burden and make her carry it. You didn't collapse into her lap like a little boy. You simply revealed what's real and invited partnership. You invited her in to walk with you, not from the sidelines. You let her in, and now she feels seen and heard as your ally, not another one of your enemies. You have to understand that's not weakness. That's leadership. And that builds trust, especially with her. And in that presence, there is discomfort. It can get uncomfortable for you because you're not used to doing it. And sadly, this is where most men tap out. They share something vulnerable, then rush through it. They treat it like ripping off a band-aid, just hoping the conversation ends quickly. But presence means you stay, you breathe, you let the silence hang without scrambling to fill it. You let yourself be seen, not the polished mask, but you. And do you know what happens in that moment? She feels you, maybe for the first time in years. That, brother, that's what real power looks like. Not silence, not rage, but congruence, right? When your words, your actions, and your presence all line up. Because a man who can speak his truth without losing control, that's a man people can trust. That's a man who stops performing and starts leading. Hey, just a brief interruption from your video to tell you about an exceptional opportunity. You keep saying that you're ready to change, but let me ask you, what's actually changing? Because reading more books and setting more goals doesn't mean anything when your core identity is stuck in the same cycle. The real reason you can't move forward isn't because of lack of discipline or motivation. It's the loop that you're in. It's the beliefs that run your decisions before you even realize it. That's why I created the foundation, a free masterclass that shows you how to break that loop. I identify exactly how the loop operates, and it's broken down in a way that you probably have never heard of before. I also explain how to rewire your loop for success. This is not a lecture, it's not theory. It's the start of you finally understanding why you feel stuck and what you can do about it. Inside, you'll learn how to spot the thoughts that sabotage you, shift the identity underneath your patterns, and anchor new beliefs that actually support who you're becoming. You've tried forcing change. Now it's time to naturally become the change. Link is in the description for this absolutely free download of the foundation. Let's start your shift today. And now, back to our video. So let me call you out for a second. How many times has your silence created more distance than your words ever could? How many arguments have spiraled out of control because you spoke from anger instead of clarity? How many nights have you laid next to your woman knowing there was something you should have said, but you didn't? Brother, every one of those moments costs you, okay? They it costs you your truth. It costs you your connection and it costs you respect from her and from others and really yourself. Because if you can't speak your truth, you'll never be fully known. And if you're never fully known, you'll always feel alone. All right, so like I promised, here's the way forward. This is where this is where it starts for you, okay? The first thing you need to do is regulate before you communicate. So if you're fired up, don't speak yet. Think about how many arguments that you've had that really weren't about the issue, they were about your state. You were already heated and the words came out sharp, defensive, or flat out destructive. That's not truth. That's your nervous system running the show. You're not in control, your emotions are. So pause, breathe, go for a walk, write it down, hit the gym if you need to. Do whatever grounds you back into yourself. Because when you speak from regulation, not reaction, your words carry weight instead of damage. The next thing is to lead with I. Now, this is one of the most powerful shifts that you can make. Okay. Most men start conversations with accusations. You always, you never, why don't you? That language guarantees defensiveness in the other person. You were starting off the conversation by putting them in a defensive mode instead of an understanding one. And then when nothing gets solved, you blame them. Like, what? No, no, brother, it's your fault because you came in with guns blazing. That's not what we need to be doing here. So when you speak, speak from your own experience, right? You should invite connection instead of conflict. So it sounds like this, right? I feel disconnected when we don't talk about what's bothering us, or, I need a few minutes to cool down before I can really listen. Notice the difference there? It's not weak, it's clear. And clarity is leadership. You are also unconsciously telling the other person that you want resolve from the conversation and not a fight or a battle. So, in that moment, you're already opening yourself up and the other person to find a solution to the issue. The next part is to stay steady. Now, this is where most men either retreat or attack. This is your fight or flight moment. When the emotions rise, hers or yours, you've got a choice. You can collapse, walk away, and avoid it, or you can explode, dominate, and try to win. Neither one of those builds trust. What builds trust is steadiness. You hold the frame, you don't shrink, you don't bulldoze, you just stay. That steadiness is what allows the feminine to finally relax. It's what allows your kids to feel safe. It's what makes your team respect you at work, not because you had all the answers, but because you didn't flinch. Stay steady and solid. People will see that and they'll lean in more and trust you even if they don't agree with your plan. They feel safe to let you lead and drive because you're speaking from your truth. And the last one is to practice in small ways. So I've said it before, practice makes, greatness. I don't like the practice makes perfect saying because perfection doesn't exist. We have covered that. And if you're striving for perfection, you're not striving for honesty. And that's what we're going for here. Here's the mistake most men make. They wait until the big blow-ups to try this. That's the wrong move. You can't speak your truth in the little things. You'll never hold it in the big ones. So start small. Tell the truth at work when you don't agree with an idea, respectfully, of course. Tell the truth with a friend when you'd rather not go out, but usually you would say yes. Tell the truth to yourself when you're pretending you're fine, but you're not. Because every rep builds the muscle. And the more you practice, the stronger you get. This is where transformation really begins, not in some massive, dramatic moment, but in the small choices where you decide, I will regulate myself before I speak. I will own my truth instead of blaming. I will stay steady even when it gets uncomfortable. That's how you become the man who no longer loses control when it matters the most. So let me leave you with this. Every time you silence yourself, you trade truth for comfort. Every time you explode, you trade truth for control. And either way, you lose. But when you learn to speak your truth from calm, clarity and consistently, you stop performing and you start leading. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop being a boy who, hides or explodes and you become a man who can actually be trusted. And brother, that's what your woman is waiting for. That's what your kids are waiting for. That's what the world is waiting for. They're waiting for you to choose something better because your truth, spoken with power and presence, is what makes you a man worth following. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Are you going to keep hiding behind silence and rage? Or are you ready to learn how to speak your truth without losing yourself in the process? If this landed with you, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. Share it with a fellow brother that might need to hear this. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified whenever I release a new video. I also, oh man, I also have free resources below that will help you start rebuilding from the inside out. Tools that work, built for men like you. And if you're interested in making a real lasting change for yourself, I work with men just like you in a private one-on-one container. The application to work with me is in the description, and just know I don't work with everyone. I only work with men who are bold, willing, and seeking. And if you're still here watching this, that's you. So hit subscribe for yourself, grab the tools, and reach out. Give me a follow too on social media. Links are in the description. Remember, brother, you're not broken, you're becoming. I'll see you on the next video. Stay strong, brother.